an unfortunate situation, but hopefully the banking bill will pass and more businesses will be able to advance and accelerate, automate, and expand. Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, and this is your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to dive into blockchain, cannabis banking, more cannabis tech. On the line with us is Dan CBD. What's going on?
I am on the line today. And in fact, I'm hanging out, relaxing a little bit, Chronic. I'm listening and I'm learning.
We need to solve some of the aches of the cannabis industry, according to this Yahoo Finance article about blockchain maybe being the solution that many regulators and individuals have with regards to oversight issues plaguing the cannabis industry, according to this article. And it has nothing to do with Bitcoin. Blockchain is an automated accounting solution, has nothing to do with cryptocurrency. A lot of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin use blockchain to settle their accounting every day. So just to differentiate between the two, blockchain is a decentralized and transparent digital leader, has found favor in the cannabis industry, most notably in tracking, tracing, and genome data. And so seed-to-sale tracking innovations are being led by companies. Actually, I would say they're being failed by multiple companies, especially in Washington State. You can just see one after another, not being able to efficiently provide data. We haven't had data in almost 2 years next month.
They make a lot of neat promises, though.
Don't they? Yeah, but ultimately, with Washington, we're supposed to be able to have that data so that websites like Lemon Haze can give us top 10 lists and all kinds of information that we can pull from that and utilize, and yet we haven't for 2 years now. And so blockchain is going to become, so according to the article, quote, blockchain is rapidly becoming a world leader in technology, enabling the assured exchange of both of value in both digital and tangible assets while protecting privacy and eliminating fraud, according to an IBM report on this Yahoo Finance article. Goes on to say that, quote, its relevance to regulating cannabis is similar to its many chains of custody applications in areas such as pharmaceutical distribution and food chains. The core to those supply chains is the same, assuring health and safety to customers, preventing fraud and counterfeiting while creating a foundation of transparency on which to base regulation.
Yeah, I got a couple of different startups I work with who are, we'll say, implementing at some level, right? And it's really interesting because, again, the technology is sound, but the industry that you're trying to mate it to, boy, there's some stuff going on there, right? So the whole thing of, again, I'm a believer in blockchain, but I think that with regards to accounting and all of that, I don't know if this industry is ready for that.
I don't think this industry is ready for a lot of regulation. I think that there should be more automated options, but I just think they're so inundated with just regular day-to-day operations. There is no BAU. There is no business as usual. You can't just operate. And so this article says that another benefit of blockchain is giving dispensaries a better way to conduct due diligence on products being supplied by growers and distributors. So is that strain truly Gorilla Glue? So when someone claims that the CBD content is this or that, or flower strains, a higher THC figure, so we can all trust those lab results, right? That's a question that the article goes on to ask. And so apparently blockchain being automated, being individual from being separate from individuals plugging in that data, right? So it should be automated from the labs coming in and from the dispensaries or rec shops going out and being able to aggregate that data in real time. And right now, we don't really have any of that.
Yeah, funny, right? A massive sales business where you're moving all kinds of a commodity around. And the fact of the matter is, if you ask somebody in the industry, do you really know what's going on? We all just look at each other because you don't. You'd think you would with all the regulation, but actually, no, you don't.
Right. And so kind of a lot of this has to do with not having traditional banking services, as well as just trying to automate the industry. And so there's been a snag in the banking movement. Back in March, there was a historical House vote to push this banking bill forward. And yet we have some progressive delays, meaning that the progressive side wants more. So this article from the bizjournal.com said that the federal banking bill desperately sought by the cannabis industry hits a snag just when breakthroughs appear close. So ironically, it's progressive, not conservatives, who are trying to slow down the legislation.
Yeah, unintended consequences, brother. You saw it with the Farm Bill, right? It's the whole thing where on the surface it's really simple. Oh, yeah, we'll go legalize this and everything will be awesome. And then you're like, oh, geez, where'd the FDA come from? You know, what's OSHA doing here? All this stuff. Again, the unintended consequences of flipping a switch like the banking, right, where you think it should be simple and it's not. Again, I'm not saying I believe in the slowdown, but I will say that, again, I think we're all going to find that in each of these major milestones or major bottlenecks that is mitigated, that what we're going to find is the unintended consequences reset the table over and over. Again, it validates our work time and again.
So the article does not tell us why it was delayed. It just says that, you know, it was delayed, and I'm sure they want more stuff, right? They have constituents and lobbyists and all of this stuff, and so we'll figure out what they want. But it is beneficial, right? And I guess that's ultimately the point, is if we can automate things, whether it's accounting, banking, joint rolling, whatever, banking is going to be a part of that, from finance to peace of mind. So this article goes on. There's another article about the benefits of banking, and that's the article is titled "How Multi-State Cannabis and Hemp Operators Stand to Potentially Benefit from New Federal Banking Laws." Obviously, bringing in cash is not safe. It's not, I mean, you have an employee doing it, so there's employee theft that we're going to cover in a couple of days on how to prevent employee theft or how to even recognize it. But there's a lot of gains from this Safe Banking Act.
Ask any business owner that has a business in 2 states what it would be like to not be able to move your money around, right? To be in a place where you're on lockdown with regards to all you can do is take cash and then you have to move cash. Again, it's, you know, any normal human would look you in the eye and just say, well, that's impossible. And yet cannabis operators do it. They do it.
So the article says that they needed liquidity currency for potential future acquisitions. So obviously these multi-state operators are going up into Canada like MedMen, collecting that IPO or reverse takeover, getting publicly traded funds and coming back into the States and gobbling up, you know, other operators. And that's the way that they're getting financing without the availability for banking in the U.S. And so should the Safe Banking Act pass, the entire cannabis sector could benefit from the new law from a variety of ways. Like I said, scaling, going international, automating, hiring more people, because right now with cannabis, you aren't able to write off a lot of these things on your taxes, including employee labor, which is a huge expense.
Again, over and over, we see it all the time. You look at the standard operator, you go look at the cannabis operator. The only difference in small business is cannabis is harder.
You definitely need a lot more capital in order to stay in the game, in order to live through regulations. If you don't have an on-site printing for labeling and you're buying it from overseas, and then all of a sudden, you know, label regulations change, you may have just lost $40,000. I've heard of that multiple times. Planning for that now is huge.
As somebody who started a lot of small businesses on a thread, right? This is one where you can't start on a thread. You've got to start with a war chest, and a fat war chest that you know, are willing to leverage, because in the end, that's going to be the difference between you being able to weather all of the chaos. And this is where, again, you know, the good fortune of getting a chance to see some businesses that had that foresight, and the sad reality of how many, you know, they thought they had the right size war chest, but it really is. It's an ongoing thing. So if you're not profitable, you're eating the house, literally. It's pretty amazing.
There's a company here locally that went to go raise $25 million from friends and family, and they opened up another Series A round at $75 million, oversubscribed by $75 million. So total, they had $175 million as a multi-state operator, as a rec store. They went out and gobbled up 24 licenses in more than a dozen states and ran out of cash quickly. And if they had been able to go to a bank, they could have just got a loan leveraged by their existing collateral, but they can't do that. So they have to go back out to the market, dilute current shareholders, and then kind of go through that whole rigmarole, which creates a lot more regulation than just being able to go out to a bank. And that compliance is costly, very, very costly. So it's a disadvantage to not have banking. You can still do it, but you have to be sophisticated. The ability to have banking gives you peace of mind, gives you that option of having business as usual so that you can reallocate your human capital to maybe put them in a sales role, so you can look at creating a national brand in multiple states or internationally, whereas right now they got their hands tied behind their back and they don't even know how to deposit cash. It's truly an unfortunate situation, but hopefully the banking bill will pass and more businesses will be able to advance and accelerate, automate, and expand.
Funny story for you, Karan. The whole thing of time and again somebody coming to us and saying, hey, geez, we have a banking solution for you now, right? And going into the field and, we have a banking solution for you. And these operators, they've seen, 3 or 5 or 7 come and go, right? And they're tired and they're worn and they've completely now you've built your business on doing it this weird way. So now you're not even really all that in, by now you figured it out, right? If you're in Washington and you've sold cannabis for 4 years, you have a way now that you run your business. And if you tried to explain it to anybody from the normal business world, they would look at you like you're from Mars. Because again, how you have to do it, you're talking about sacks of cash. It's crazy.
I was just up in Canada for the International Cannabis Business Conference in Vancouver, BC, talking about duct tape remedies like the quote banking options. Really, it's just a money transmitting service, and they'll be obsolete the moment that banking becomes relevant. I've spoken to many of them. I haven't endorsed a single one because I don't believe that any of them will be able to survive. They're not able to pivot to stay relevant. At least the ones I've talked to, they don't work with the DFI, that's the Department of Financial Institutions. They don't work with any banks. They just kind of are in their own little bubble thinking that they're going to be around. And it's my opinion that they will not. There'll be some lazy companies that don't transition to regular banking, but they won't be around long term.
No, the moment it goes normal, and this speaks to yesterday's diatribe about go build the next delivery service, but be ready to sell it. Because the moment cannabis business is just business with cannabis. It's not special. It's just hard. It's hard because of the regulations. It's hard because of the chaos. At some point, all of this will settle. And at that point, you won't need to listen to the Talking Hedge, your cannabis business podcast. Because by then, it'll all make sense.
I don't know about that. You're going to have to keep coming back. There's always new stuff. So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Or don't. And I'm out.